After 20 years of not playing Pokémon Colosseum, I finally took time to play it again, and this time I plan to complete the post-game content. In my previous playthrough, when I was young, I only got to the part where you beat the final boss and get to the end credits. Back then I was a little kid, so I didn't really have much interest in post-game content, nor did I really understand English. So for me, seeing the end credits meant I could move on to a new game. 20 years later, after revisiting this, which is, in my opinion, one of the best Pokemon games, mind you, I'm not really a Pokemon fan. Never have been, and probably will never be. But this game, for some reason, is the only one I ever completed, the only one I ever enjoyed, and it was my introduction to Pokemon, so to speak. At the time, I also had a copy of Pokemon Sapphire, and I remember preferring to play the GameCube version just because I liked seeing the 3D renders. And the main story, what really captivated me about this game was the fact that you could steal other people's Pokemon, and the fact that they were called Shadow. And again, back when I was a little kid, I understood what the word Shadow meant, and I somehow managed to finish the game without knowing a single word of English, just by using context clues, by trial and error, and just experimenting. I would talk to any NPC, I would go to different places, backtrack, and basically waste a lot of my time. But it was okay. I was probably, 10 years old? Going back to what captivated me about this game is not only the way it looked, it didn't really feel like a traditional Pokemon game. And I can only say that now, 20 years later, because I have seen other more recent entries, and this one apparently shook up the formula and was a fresh take on the traditional young trainer goes on a journey story. I really like the character design. In my opinion, this doesn't feel like a Pokemon game. If you were to replace all the Pokemon with anything else, this could be any other RPG. It could be its own game. And that's what I really appreciate about this game. I also really enjoy the soundtrack. To this day, I still go back and listen to some of the most memorable songs, including the Mirror B battle song, and also all the Pokemon Trainer battle songs. I really enjoy them. They have electric guitars, which I'm a huge fan of any music that has them. And they're very catchy, they're very timeless. So this video is not really a review because I'm not a game reviewer. It's more of a reflection of how I feel after beating the game for the second time. This time it's different because I actually was reading the text and I was interacting with the different characters in a different way because I speak English now. And now I finally got to understand the story behind why Shadow Pokemon were created and what Team Cypher's real plans were for the Pokemon world, and how my actions played a role in saving them, or at least that's how the story goes. I've always been attached to Umbreon and Espeon, which are the signature Pokemon in this game. Ever since I was little, and even now, whenever I think of Pokemon, I think of those two, and I basically can't imagine one without the other, and I think that sentiment is shared across many other Pokemon fans. Again, I'm not a Pokemon fan, not the way other people are. I don't play any other games. I have no interest in knowing how many Pokemon there are now. I don't know. As of the time of this video, there's probably like 1,000 or more. Back then, the only Pokemon I remember are the ones that I saw in this game. So call me biased if you want. That's fine. That's your opinion. And my appreciation for this game is more about what it represents where I was back at the time when I was playing. I was a little kid in my home country, Honduras, and life was simpler for me. I just basically went to school, didn't have to worry about anything I do now, including taxes, adulting, being a parent, and all that stuff. Back then, it was just about coming home from school and just booting up my GameCube and play until I got bored, and then switch games, and so on and so forth. It really takes me back to a time, back to 2004, which is really, again, it was one of the simplest and happiest years of my life. I'm a very 2000s person. I have a lot of nostalgia for the 2000s, just because at least during the early 2000s, I got introduced to a lot of technology, video games. That's when I became a casual gamer. I had a GameCube. Like I said, I used to also play with my friends' PlayStation 2s, and then I got my own. I was introduced to Persona 3, so you can kind of imagine why I am so attached to that decade. And during the latter part of the decade, that's when I came to the United States as a younger kid, and I had to adapt to a brand new culture, and everything was new and it was scary for me. But having been introduced to video games, I had a safe haven, a safe place where I could just be myself and just have fun and forget about the world. And this is why I'm so attached to these games, and I always go back to them, or at least think about them every few years, every 3 or 4 years. I get this nostalgia, and I remember earlier this year I would go back to YouTube and just started Googling GameCube games, PlayStation 2 games, and this urge of me to replay them again just kept growing and growing until I had to just get a new GameCube and just bought the games that I missed the most, and here I am. And so that's my plan for this channel. It's dedicated mainly to 2000s gaming. Of course, I will play anything else that I'm interested in whenever I have free time, when I'm not busy with work or life at school. As of the time of this video, I'm also finishing up my master's degree, so that's keeping me real busy. But since I'm at the end, it means I already went through the hardest part of my degree, and I am now in my thesis/capstone project. So it's more self-directed, which means I have more time to do things like this. And I plan to slowly play each of the games that really shaped me as a person when I was a child and that I still cherish to this moment. This was the first game I completed, and of course I still plan to work on the post-game content. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of shadow Pokemon that I missed, and I plan to catch them, purify them, and see what happens at the end. And also just play it until I get bored. I'll continue to upload more playthroughs, and after that I will move on to other games that I bought, such as Double Dash, also a couple of other RPGs and racing games that I grew up with. And I feel great after finishing this game. I feel like I went back in time to relive those special afternoons in 2004, and I felt happy. I felt complete. My desire, my little void that I had earlier this year has been filled, and I can move on to another video game. And if anybody here is watching and just kind of feels the same way as I do, at least I'm not embarrassed by it. I actually embrace my affinity for video games, albeit in a casual way. You keep saying this. I am not a vivid gamer. I don't really want to do it for a living. I've never liked it as a job. So this is just for fun, and it's just one of my hobbies. And I don't think I will ever stop playing video games. I'm at a point in my life where I actually have made some games. So I went from consumer to creator, and I plan to stay on the creator side of things. And that does not mean I'm gonna be a game developer or anything like that. No, but I will always cherish the memories I had growing up, and I'll try to make videos about it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Any engagement you do will help my channel grow, and hopefully I get to a lot of followers, and so I can keep making content. And until next time.